Although the 50 states of the United States of America were each founded between 1776 and 1959, most state flags did not come into existence until the turn of the 20th century, and like the United States itself, have been ever-changing and evolving as time has gone on. A flag can quite literally act as a symbol, and in the case of state flags, are meant to be a representation of the best that the state has to offer, and be proud of. States have one rectangle to convey this, which is why it's appalling to me how bland, non-creative, and tacky so many of the flags are as we speak. Let's go over the 50 flags and where they rank when compared to one another, based on aesthetics, recognizability, and the clearness of a message that the state should be promoting. We'll end with the 5 worst and the 5 best, so let's begin with number 45, Alabama. Meant to be a Crimson Cross of St. Andrew, it's probably the most unoriginal of the 50 flags, as any place on Earth could use this flag and use the same rationale for it as Alabama does. I probably have the most valid insight on my home state of New York's flag, which displays what are supposed to be liberty and justice, displayed with the Hudson River in the middle. I can tell you that in my entire life, I have only seen this flag in the DMV or in other government buildings, and I doubt most of my fellow New Yorkers could pick it out of a lineup. For what is supposed to be the cultural center of the universe, that's the best they can do? Virginia's flag is the only flag that displays nudity, and has more of an ancient Greek feel than a modern Virginian one. Pennsylvania's flag is one of 8 that displays an eagle on it, and after having lived there for 2 years, I never once saw its prominent feature, that is, the black horse. Maine's flag is supposed to symbolize water and woods, but instead looks like a 1920s silent film press shot. The sheaves of wheat on Vermont's flag that are meant to represent its agricultural industry look more like giant mushrooms. My birth state of Connecticut's Latin phrase for "he who transplanted sustains" and grapes without much explanation aren't enough to make up for the unique shape of the flag symbol. The 9 stars around the USS Raleigh symbolize New Hampshire as being the 9th state to join the Union. But the state with one of the best license plates has one of the most yawn-worthy flags. What's currently ranked as the worst state flag by the North American Vexillological Association literally flew upside down at its state capital for 10 days without anybody noticing, as Nebraska's has way too much going on to remotely soak in just a brief glance. The newest state flag just turned 2 years old at the time of this video, with the Mississippi state flower plopped onto a bizarre color scheme. Minnesota's state seal is surrounded by their state flower, called the Pink and White Lady's Slipper, but at least this flag has a different shade of blue than others. Emma Edwards Green, the only woman to design a U.S. state seal, did an incredible job for one of the cooler looking seals, as long as you have a magnifying glass to see it on the Idaho state flag, the nation's fastest growing state in population. Our first state has the date it became the first state front and center on its flag, surrounded by the colors of the uniform of General George Washington. 2 different years are featured on Utah's state flag, one signifying when the Mormon pioneers first entered the Salt Lake Valley, and the other celebrating the birth of Utah's estate. Kansas's state flower, the sunflower, adds color to a flag that is a little too vertical and tower-looking. Wisconsinite Carl R. Eklund once raised his home state's flag over a previously uninhabited area of Antarctica, which was later preserved in a state museum. A Vietnam veteran who was disappointed that his fellow soldiers did not recognize the state flag of his home successfully petitioned to have Illinois added to the bottom of its flag. A flag with a very similar look to the Great Seal of the United States traces its roots back to the North Dakota State Troops contingent carried in the Philippine-American War. West Virginia's portrait-looking flag was designed to represent agriculture and industry. The date of the Mecklenburg Declaration, the prelude to the Declaration of Independence less than 3 months later, is displayed on North Carolina's flag. Used by Montana's state troops during the Spanish-American War, its flag portrays a sunny day by the Great Falls. For the first 75 years of its statehood, Iowa did not have a state flag, as an attempt at unity post-Civil War. Oregon is the only state to have different designs on either side of its flag. Once a part of France's overseas rule, Missouri's flag reflects this in its colors, sporting 24 stars as the 24th state. The winning designer of a contest held for Indiana's centennial celebration in 1916 received a $100 cash prize for this submission. Our second contest winner designed Wyoming's flag. Buff is the color of the background of New Jersey's flag, and was suggested by George Washington for inclusion on the New Jersey Continental Line during the American Revolution. Michigan's flag features a man giving a sign of peace with one hand and holding a gun with another. The only state where the public is allowed to search for and keep diamonds is Arkansas, and its shape is represented on its state flag. The biblical phrase, "Hope we have as an anchor of the soul," inspired Rhode Island's flag design. The shape of the pelican mother's head and outspread wings form a stylized fleur-de-lis on Louisiana's flag. Stylized after the Spanish Cross of Burgundy, Florida's more creative version of Alabama's flag calls back to its Spanish roots. Spain's current flag colors are reflected in New Mexico's flag, and was voted as the best flag by the North American Vexillological Association in 2001. Green, gold, and George Washington's portrait make Washington's flag one of the better ones. The Native American peace pipe, crossed with the olive branch, which is in its own right a symbol of European American peace, symbolize a united Oklahoma. Tennessee is often cited as being 3 different geographic and cultural states in one, known as the Grand Divisions, shown united in its flag. South Carolina's flag is based on the Liberty flag in the American Revolution, and has been referred to as the first American flag to fly over the South. As Ginger Spice once proved, a Union Jack always looks good, and Hawaii's flag features 8 stripes to symbolize its 8 major islands. Along with Hawaii, Texas's flag is one of 2 states that at one point served as a national flag of an independent country. Although what keeps it from being higher is its similarity to Chile's flag, which is actually older. The folding procedure for Ohio's flag, the only one that is not rectangular, takes 17 folds. Now let's get to the best of the best and the worst of the worst. So we'll alternate between worst and best until we get to number 1 for both. The state flag of my alma mater of Boston College is so bad that the governor of Massachusetts recently established a commission to change it, which is underway at the time of this video's release. Perhaps the most recognizable state flag displays the coat of arms of Cecil, 2nd Baron of Baltimore, who founded Maryland. After being voted as the worst state flag in 2001, Georgia changed its flag to this, which isn't much better. The colors in Colorado's flag each represent a major element to the state, and merchandise with this incorporation of the flag has skyrocketed in recent years. The symbolism of Kentucky's flag is really intriguing, representing pioneers and statesmen uniting, but its execution is dull to say the least. The Big Dipper and the North Star have been used on Alaska's flag since before it was ever a state, and it was designed by a 14-year-old Alaskan native who won a contest for the school children of Alaska. South Dakota's flag went from having the Sunshine State to the Mount Rushmore State on the bottom in the early 1990s, despite having Mount Rushmore nowhere on the flag, and seems far too jumbled and hard to make of with the naked eye. The influence of the Spanish conquistadors, as well as a star, signifying the state that produces the most copper in the U.S., make Arizona's flag perhaps the most aesthetically pleasing state flag of all. And now for the ugly truth. The worst state flag of all looks more like a local police department's than one representing the state that has led in population growth for 36 of the past 73 years in Nevada. But let's end on a good note. No, a great note. As California's flag checks basically every box there is. Representing the 1846 Bear Flag Revolt that forged California's independence from Mexico, the U.S.'s most populous state fittingly also has the greatest flag. Washington, D.C. and U.S. territories also have flags, as our rankings are displayed here, so we won't forget them either. Part of what makes the United States of America so unique is the states, and the pride that their citizens have in them. Flags have been symbols of pride for thousands of years, and having a flag that properly and effectively displays those sentiments is something that can and should be taken with the utmost importance and honor.